Hello, back again on the Top Recap channel. This time I will tell a movies entitled Brawl in Cell Block 99. Let's get straight into the storyline. The story begins with a bald man named Bradley Thomas, who works as an auto mechanic. When he returns to his workplace to repair the car he brought, it seems that the boss of the workshop is waiting for him. The boss told Bradley to go to his room because there were some things he wanted to discuss. But Bradley refused and told his boss to talk to him directly, because Bradley knew that he would be fired by his boss. His boss said that the workshop was currently in crisis and required him to lay off some of his employees. After hearing that, Bradley immediately packed his belongings and left the place. Bradley drove the car and went home. Upon arrival, he saw his wife in the car and seemed to be calling someone. Bradley was suspicious and went straight to her. After checking his wife's cell phone, it turned out that his wife named Lauren was having an affair with a man. Bradley was immediately jealous and told his wife to go into the house. Then Bradley vented his frustration by destroying the car using both hands. When Bradley entered the house, he invited his wife to talk. And it turned out that his wife had been cheating on him with another man for 3 months. They expressed their feelings to each other, and it was discovered that Lauren had had a miscarriage, which made her very sad. Plus, Bradley is getting busy with his work. Bradley then said that he had just been fired and had no job. But Bradley convinced his wife to restart the relationship between them. Bradley still loves his wife very much, but because Bradley currently has no job, so he decides to contact his friend named Gil. At first, this was opposed by Lauren, because the job that Bradley was going to do was to become a drug courier. Bradley convinces Lauren by saying that he will earn money for their small family. The scene moves to 8 months later when Bradley is on duty delivering a package of drugs to a buyer.
Here, put it in the scale.
After completing his duties, he went straight home. Now the condition of Bradley's house is very different from before. He also has several luxury cars parked in front of his house. It looks like Bradley and Lauren's relationship is also getting more harmonious, especially now that Lauren is pregnant with Bradley's child. Suddenly there was an incoming call from Gil, telling him to come to his house immediately. Long story short, Bradley met Gil at his house. And it turns out that Bradley will be given a new assignment by delivering drugs in larger quantities than before, because Gil has a new friend named Eleazar. Eleazar is a dealer who has big connections in Mexico. But Eleazar didn't come alone, he came with his 2 men named Roman and Pedro. Eleazar tells Bradley that his 2 men will accompany him when he picks up the drugs. Bradley initially refuses because he sees Roman looking like a junkie. Bradley is afraid that Roman will act recklessly and ruin the mission. But Eleazar insisted that his 2 men accompany Bradley. Gil tries to convince Bradley to do his job and promises to give Bradley some money and an extra vacation when the baby is born. Bradley finally agrees and confirms to Eleazar that he will be in control of the mission. Bradley tests Roman by saying, "If I say throw away the package, then what will you do?" Roman replied that he would throw it away. They finally agreed to work together. They went to a dock to go to the drug pickup location. Using Gil's boat, they headed to the location. After arriving in the middle of the lake, Pedro dived into the lake and found a package containing drugs that had been prepared there. Pedro then released the package. After getting the package, they returned to the dock. While they were walking on the dock, Bradley told Roman and Pedro to throw the package away because he suspected that the police were waiting for them ahead. But Eleazar's men refused to follow Bradley's orders and immediately hit Bradley. Sure enough, the police were waiting for them outside the dock, and there was a shootout. Bradley tried to escape by returning to the ship, but after hearing that the policemen were calling for help, Bradley thought of pretending to be a civilian. Bradley shot Pedro and Roman. In short, Bradley was arrested by the police. Bradley was then interrogated by a detective named Watkins. Bradley was initially suspected of being a resident who came to help the police, but after Watkins and the police checked the CCTV around the dock, they found that Bradley was a gang member of Pedro and Roman. Detective Watkins tried to find out who the drug supplier was, but Bradley did not want to open his mouth and said that he was just a courier. Not long after, Lauren came to visit Bradley, who was being held at the police station. Bradley told Lauren not to attend the trial because he did not want to make Lauren sad, and also forbade Lauren to visit him in prison because he did not want his son to see his father as a criminal. Long story short, the judge sentenced him to 7 years in prison for his crimes. Then he was taken to a prison called Franklin James. Once there, he was told to remove all the objects on his body. Even Bradley's wedding ring had to be removed. Then he was escorted by a prisoner named Lefty to his cell room. They met with an officer named Andre. He explained the rules that Bradley had to obey while in prison.
You come out your room, and you wait outside until I'm through.
The night came, and when the officers were taking attendance of the prisoners, it turned out that Bradley was still asleep. So that requires other prisoners to wait for Bradley to come out of his room. After Bradley came out, the officer immediately came to him and gave Bradley a warning to be more alert and disciplined again in obeying the rules in prison.
You hear that buzzer, you come out and get counted.
The scene moves to Lauren, who is sleeping. Lauren wakes up to the sound of someone breaking into her house. The intruder broke the window and attacked Lauren with stun bullets until Lauren fell unconscious. The next day, Bradley meets a woman named Denise. Denise tells him that she got a call from an obstetrician named Dr. Pellman. It is known that Dr. Pellman is Lauren's obstetrician. Denise delivered a message from Dr. Pellman that his wife had complications in her pregnancy, and Dr. Pellman wants to meet with Bradley to discuss the problem at 10 a.m. In short, Bradley met with someone who turned out not to be Dr. Pellman, but Eliezer's men pretended to be Dr. Pellman. He said that as a result of Bradley's betrayal, his boss had lost $3.2 million in failed drug deals. He also showed a photo that turned out to be Lauren, who had been kidnapped and held captive by Eliezer's men. He tells them that Eliezer will abort his wife if Bradley does not pay compensation. But knowing that Bradley certainly didn't have that kind of money, he made a deal to pay the damages. He told Bradley to kill a prisoner who was in Redleaf Prison. The prisoner was named Christopher Bridge and was in cell number 99.
Stuff here that you have to be transferred.
Not long after, Bradley was escorted back to his cell by Officer Andre. After arriving at his cell, Bradley immediately beat Andre. It turns out that Bradley deliberately made trouble with the officer, so he was transferred to Redleaf Prison. Until finally, Bradley broke Andre's hand. Other police officers soon arrived and immediately handcuffed Bradley. In short, Bradley was taken down to be detained, and while on the way, Bradley acted again by beating the officers.
Inspector Ford.
And finally, Bradley's plan to be transferred to Redleaf went smoothly. Upon arrival at Redleaf Prison, Bradley was immediately greeted by the chief guard there. He emphasized that Redleaf Prison was a highly secure prison, and not to expect to get out of there if he got into trouble. After a rigorous inspection, Bradley was taken to holding cell number 56. Upon arrival, Bradley was shocked to find that the cell was filthy and full of human waste that had not been cleaned. Because of the pungent odor, Bradley covered his nose with his clothes. Not long after, an officer told Bradley to leave the field to get some fresh air. When he arrived at the field, Bradley saw several other prisoners. Bradley was suddenly approached by a man named Derek. Bradley then asked Derek if he knew someone named Christopher Bridge, but the man replied that he had never heard that name here. Because Derek didn't know where Christopher Bridge was, Bradley decided to ask some of the prisoners who were exercising. Because he did not get an answer, Bradley immediately beat the prisoners. The officers immediately stopped Bradley, but again Bradley made a mess by beating the officers.
499.
And as punishment for his actions, Bradley was finally taken to cell block 99. Upon arrival, Bradley was fitted with a stun belt to immobilize Bradley. In short, Bradley was taken to his cell, where in his cell there was a lot of broken glass scattered around. The scene moves to Lauren, who is being held captive and is in a very weak condition. Eliezer's men appear to come with an abortion doctor to examine Lauren's condition. The scene moves to Bradley already in cell block 99. He yells out the name Christopher Bridge, but the prisoner who was there said that no prisoner had that name. Not long after, Bradley is taken by several officers. The officer told him that some prisoners wanted to meet Bradley. It turned out that the one waiting for him was not Christopher Bridge, but Eliezer. It turns out that it was all Eliezer's idea to take Bradley to cell block 99 and torture him there. Eliezer was angry with Bradley for losing his $3.2 million. And because of Bradley's actions, now Eliezer's sister must become a widow, because her husband named Pedro was shot by Bradley. Bradley was then electrocuted and beaten continuously while being shown a photo of Lauren, who was in a bound condition. After being beaten continuously, Bradley finally fell unconscious.
Looks like he needs a nap.
Bradley was dragged back to his cell. After regaining consciousness, Bradley opened his shoes and took out the soles. He put the soles in his belt so that the shock would not be so fatal. It wasn't long before the officer came back and took Bradley out of his cell. Bradley did not waste the opportunity. He immediately beat the officer who electrocuted him. After successfully escaping from the stun belt, Bradley went straight to Elizar. Bradley immediately beat Elizar's men one by one. After all of Elizar's men were defeated, Bradley then approached Elizar. It turned out that Elizar had told his men to abort Lauren if there was no news from him. But apparently, the decision was wrong. Bradley did not hesitate to beat and torture Elizar, while telling Elizar to stop his wife's abortion. Elizar was stubborn at first, and thought that Bradley would be afraid of his threats. But it turned out that Bradley was not afraid at all, and continued to torture Elizar.
Right now I'm dragging him to a bunch of guys who will fuck him blood.
Elizar finally gave in, and told his men to cancel the abortion. Bradley requested that his wife be brought to Gil, to ensure that she was safe. Bradley then dragged Elizar into the cell room. Suddenly the warden and his men arrived and ordered Bradley to surrender. Bradley threatened to kill the officer if the warden dared to attack him. Bradley said that he would surrender himself after he got a call from Gil and make sure his wife was safe. Eleazar's men then immediately delivered his wife to Gil. Gil and Lauren then shot and killed Eleazar's men. After making sure that it was safe, Gil called and confirmed to Bradley that Lauren was safe with him. He gave his cell phone to Lauren to talk to Bradley. Bradley had the last word for Lauren and the baby, as Bradley knew that he would not be able to get out of prison safely after this incident. Bradley then approached Elizar and immediately stomped on Elizar's head until his head was cut off. The head guard then arrived and Bradley surrendered without putting up a fight. But the warden felt he had to kill Bradley because his actions had been very dangerous. He shot Bradley in the head. And the movie is over. Don't forget to click subscribe, like and comment.